Well, hello. Welcome to the webinar running for state office. We'll wait like just a minute before I get started in case there are people that are joining us a little later. All right. Again, welcome to running for FBLA state office for 2026. This kind of goes over the ins and outs of what to expect when running. There have been a few changes over the years, so we want to make sure if you've talked to previous state officers that you get what's happening with anything that's going on new. My name is Tanya Davies. I'm a teacher at Platte Valley High School in Kersey, Colorado, so Northeast. And I am the state officer team advisor. Molly's on the meeting too, so she can wave at you. She is the state advisor. Hopefully you know that. But I'm gonna kind of run you through a lot of different things that go into running for office. Maybe. There we go. So first of all, hopefully you've looked over the website and you've kind of seen different things that are in there. There is obviously the place to find all of the, all of the information on running for state office is under the leadership tab. So if you go to the leadership section and go to high school state officers, you will see some other tabs. And then you can click on the tab that says Run for State Office. That gives you kind of an abbreviated version of what's in there. But then you can also download the State Officer Handbook. And yes, it is 31 pages. It used to be longer, so it's condensing. But it is 31 pages of all the things. So you can get the Cliff Notes version on the website, but then really kind of read through that handbook. Because that has all the details of not only running for office, but what to expect when you are an officer. The qualifications I'll run through quickly because there are important reasons why we have these qualifications. The first one is to have taken or be enrolled in a Colorado CTE approved business course. Obviously, FBLA is an extension of the business program, and so we want you to be knowledgeable in what the business programs are and understand those. So take those classes. Have a 2.5 minimum GPA. I hope that's kind of self-explanatory. Have at least completed 1 year of high school and have 1 full year remaining. So be a current sophomore or junior, really. And the reason for that first one is to make sure that you're knowledgeable in FBLA. A lot of times freshmen who are in FBLA want to run and they haven't experienced everything FBLA has to offer because they haven't had experienced state yet and they haven't experienced nationals yet. So just getting a good understanding of what FBLA has to offer. And then obviously you have to have 1 year remaining so that you can be an officer. Have held a selected or elected office in a local district, chapter, or other CTSO. And that's just getting some experience with being a leader and leading an organization, running meetings, and different things like that. Having local advisor approval. Local advisor is kind of your first go-to with anything that you do. And so having them close by and having their support, I think, is huge so that they help you with the different things that you do with state office. Have completed the first 2 levels of the BAAs. Obviously, all the levels of BAAs are extremely important, but the first 2 levels for being a candidate, I think, are huge. First level, obviously, you learn a lot about FBLA, and the second level, you learn a lot about being a leader and what type of leader you are. So those are very helpful in having those completed before you run. Being able to attend all mandatory state officer meetings, trainings, events, and in their entirety. A little later, I'll show you all the dates, and the dates are on the application, and they're in the handbook, and they're all the places. But I'll show you those. So just double check your calendars to make sure you can attend those things. I think the biggest thing with a state officer team is that we're spread across Colorado, and we don't always, meet. There's not a lot of times that we meet. And so when we do, we want to make sure that the full team is there so that we can get a lot of things done. This does include virtual meetings. And so with virtual meetings, we really want to make sure that you have reliable internet access. Because again, it's important that we have all of our officers, all of our team there and able to contribute to what we do. All right, moving on. Some dates. I'm going to put all these dates on here. I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. And talk about a few of them. You can take a picture of the dates. Again, they're posted in so many different places. But we have 4 kind of regular state officer meetings. 3 of those your advisor will go to you with. The one that is in March, we've kind of changed into an overnight because we do run the middle school state leadership conference. So your advisor does not need to be at the March one. And then obviously CTSO training, FBLA training in June. We have district officer training, which is a virtual meeting, the fall leadership conference, which we last year we did with DECA. Previous years we've done with some other CTSOs, so that always gets planned in September or October. Your district leadership conference, which is either in January or February, depending on which district you're at. Then obviously the middle school state leadership conference, and then state leadership conference. I do want to point out again that the March 2nd, 3rd is an overnight for the officers. So, it's not like you'll be going back and forth. But then also the state leadership conference, we have officers coming in on the 23rd around noon. And so we spend a half a day setting up. Then we spend a full day also setting up and rehearsing, then a half a day rehearsing before everybody comes in on the 25th. Throughout the year, there are different committee meetings that will be virtual, whether it's your program of work section that you're working on, as well as monthly membership meetings will be virtual as well. And we actually set those monthly membership meetings during our June training. So we look at everybody's calendars and set those dates. Any questions on dates while I'm rambling through? Okay, there's also other optional activities. So whether you go to National Leadership Conference, National Fall Leadership Conference, other CTE events, those are optional things that you can go to, but aren't required if you're an officer.
May I add real quick, Tanya,
Yep.
if you go to the national events, you travel with your chapter, not with the state officer team. So that would be a
Yes.
plan you make with your chapter advisor.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. All right. So then expectations. I kind of have mentioned some of these already. So attend all state officer meetings and trainings in their entirety. We need everybody in person or on the virtual call. So having reliable internet is good so that we can do things swiftly. I would add to that, being prepared for all of those meetings and trainings. Things go a lot faster and we get through things quicker when people come prepared with ideas or with, scripts memorized or whatever. Assisting with communication to Colorado members and advisors. And that communication is, social media. It can be emails. It can be, talking in person at conferences. So all sorts of different things. Completing all the paperwork, officer reports and travel authorizations in the timely manner. And I think that just kind of goes with anything. You want to make sure you get those things turned in and on time. I do a to-do list from every meeting, and so you'll see the to-do list. You can print those out. It is online in our Google Drive, but you'll always have like due dates for when things are turned in. Working with the team to plan the state activities. And I know there's a bunch of acronyms on here, but those hopefully will become memorized if you don't know them already. So National Leadership Conference, District Officer Training, Colorado Fall Leadership Conference, District Leadership Conference, State Leadership Conference, monthly membership meetings, helping and working with the team. Oh, I forgot the middle school State Leadership Conference on there. But you know what I'm getting at is that you're working with the team to plan the different activities that the state officers run at those events. Obviously, we're not the end all be all, and we can't do all the things because we have to have, the approval of the board and the approval of the state advisor. But we get to plan a lot of fun things that go on from the state officer perspective. Complete tasks as assigned in the program of work. Again, our VPs our Vice President of Service, our Vice President of Education, and our Vice President of Progress kind of lead and manage those different sections of our program of work. And we assign or they assign different activities to the other state officers to help with the different things that are going on in our program of work. So whatever is assigned to you, that you're getting those done in a timely manner and to the people that need those things. And then any additional tasks, I got to put that in there because there's random things that come up and we we'll text you and be like, hey, we need this, or is somebody planning to go to this, or whatever. So just anything that could be assigned. We always give you plenty of time. And if it is something that is optional, we always give you the option. So if it's helping with another CTSO or something, they're not going to be mandatory if they're kind of last minute assigned as well. Public relations and networking, again, I kind of already talked about that, but just really being that link between the membership and the state office. So whether you're on a chapter visit or whether you're at a conference or whether you're emailing people, all of that communication is helping both sides of that. Setting FBLA as a priority to other activities. Again, making sure that we are at our mandatory dates and having those things as a priority to other things, I think is important because you guys are leading a state organization and making sure that you get things done in a timely manner and don't put FBLA off because of a sport or because of prom or because of whatever, I think is important because you are the leadership of Colorado FBLA. And then meeting periodically with your local advisor for guidance and for advice. Like I said earlier, they are a huge support system, especially since, I'm in Kersey, Colorado, and Miss Davis is in Denver. We're not always going to be readily available to give you some advice or to help you with things. We're obviously available by phone call and text and email and all of those things, but it's always nice to have someone near you to help kind of look over items or to help give guidance in different ways. So meeting with them, weekly, I think would be great. We good so far? Okay, moving on.
Hold
All
on,
right.
ma'am. Sorry. Can I
Yes,
ask a question real quick? Can
absolutely.
you scroll back to the requirements because my audio cut out for a little bit and I didn't hear all that.
Uh,
I'm, I'm so sorry.
this one?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do you have any specific questions on any of those?
Uh, no, I just can take a screenshot of it real quick.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, and we're recording this, so this will be available on the website as well. So you can always go back and listen to me ramble on again if you truly want to on a lonely Saturday night.
I do also have another question. What does CTSO exactly stand for?
Col that's a good question. So CTSO is Colorado, no, White Career Technical Student Organization. Sorry. I get my acronyms mixed up. So CTSOs, FBLA is one, DECA is one, FFA is one, FCCLA. They're all the student organizations that go with the different programs, the CTE programs, Career and Technical Education programs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Back to where we're at. All right. So some deadlines. I'll go over the kind of application deadlines first. And so March 16th, I hope I put that date in right. I think I did. Um, is the deadline for your application, which is also the deadline for your article. Okay. Normally, articles are due the 20th of the month prior to publishing, but because your article is due with your application, turn it in when that is due as well. So your article, get that in, submit it to Colorado FBLA today. The link is on the website. I think it's also linked in the application, so it's linked in lots of places. But getting that turned in on the 16th, getting the online application turned in on the 16th, as well as everything that's in that, and we'll go over what's in the application a little later. But getting those things turned in, don't wait until the last minute. We've often had some candidates who like it gets to like midnight and they're like trying to email us, and we're sleeping at midnight, and so we can't answer those. And like I said, the application closes right after that. So if you can do it sooner than the 16th, I always think that's better. Because you don't want to wait if there are like technical issues or glitches or having trouble with something. You can reach us like during the work day and we can help you with those things, but I can't really help you at midnight. So then after everything is submitted on the 17th, I get all of that information and I release the pre-conference simulation activity. And so it's an activity that basically kind of our state officers have worked on throughout the year, or is something that they've worked on throughout the year. So whether it's, helping to plan a monthly membership meeting, or whether it's helping to put a workshop together, or, add some social media posts, creating some of those things. They're simulated activities that our state officers have actually done. You guys will be doing that. So those will be released on the 17th, and they will be due on the 26th. And all of the information for submitting those and everything will be in the email that you get on the 17th. So hopefully that's will be pretty easy to follow along. Then between the 17th and the 29th, you will schedule a time to do a virtual interview with me. And then your advisor will also need to schedule a time to do a virtual interview with me. We try to get a lot of things done prior to state so that you can be active at state, competing and having fun with your chapter and doing other things. And so that's kind of why we've done some of the simulation stuff and the virtual interviews ahead of time. But again, I'll send out a link that you guys can schedule your own time for those interviews, and it's what's convenient for you. Also, in your application, you are filling out information about your advisor, about your administrator, and about your parents. And so make sure, double check and triple check that the emails in the application are good emails for all of those people, because I will email them a feedback form to fill out, because we just want to get some information about you from a little bit of everybody. And so double check, triple check their emails so that on the 17th they get those. Because there are sometimes people get back to me, a little later and they're like, oh, my mom never received that email. Well, is it the correct email and do they check it regularly? So just kind of double check on those. Kind of throughout the pre-conference time, I send out like a checklist of everything that's been turned in and everything that's been submitted, so that you can keep up with what you have or what you need to do. And I think that makes that a little easier for everybody to make sure that they get everything turned in on time before state. Any questions with those deadlines? Cool, cool. All right. So I don't know why those popped up first. Let's look at the application. If you have not opened that up, I'm going to go over the things that are in there. Some of them I've already explained, but others I can explain a little more. The personal information in there is great to have because we got to contact you, okay? All your social media handles, because yes, we do check up on you. We do a social media check. Make sure you're putting everything that you do use, because if you have like 3 Instagram accounts, we usually are able to find some. And so we just want to make sure that you're being good kids. on the interwebs. One-page resume. That resume does not need to include your personal information. So like address, phone number, that stuff, because we get it in the application. And then that frees up a little more room for all the amazing things that you guys do. So you do have to keep it to one page. We print those out, and those are given to the selection committee to view. So again, make sure it's on one page. A headshot picture. And again, this picture we use in a lot of places until we take our professional pictures. So it'll be used on our website, on the candidate website. It'll be used on our social media. It'll be in a poster at state. It'll be used after people are selected as officers. So make sure it's one that you like. Because I always chuckle when a state officer gets the position and they're like, I didn't know you were gonna post that picture. And I'm like, well, what'd you think the picture was for? So make sure that it's a picture you like. Because we don't take the professional pictures until the CTSO training. And then it takes a while to get those back as well. So yes, make sure you like the picture. Any offices held, business classes taken, those are in there. Parent, advisor, administrator information. Again, double check that the email and phone numbers are correct. Office preferences are in there. So you'll get a first choice, second choice, and third choice of office. So what would you absolutely want to have as your first choice? And then what is your second and third choice? Because again, the selection committee kind of selects our officers for the positions that they think are best filled in those positions. But we also look at what your first, second, and third choices are. If you only have one choice, like if you just want to be the state officer for the district and you really don't want to be anything higher than that, the second and third option has no other position as an option. So you could just either repeat state officer, or you can put that no other office position that you'd be interested in. And along with that, the reason why we have that in there is that if you are interested in running for president or national office, you have a separate interview with Miss Davis and I. And so we have to make sure that we can schedule all of those. And I feel like a lot of times people put president down, and when I interview them online, I ask them why. And they're like, I just put a third option down. I didn't care. And so they weren't really interested in being the president, and they weren't really interested in having that additional interview. And so that's kind of why we added those options there. So then your article is going to go in there. Your 2-minute FBLA video is going to go in there. Your certificates for the BAAs are in there. And then all the other agreements, signatures, all the things, transcripts, letter of recommendation from your local advisor. Pretty self-explanatory, hopefully. Okay. All right. So then once we get to our pre-conference tasks, I've always had people ask kind of what those are about. And again, I've talked about this already, but just to reiterate, the Simulated State Officer Project, it's done individually. And again, it's something that is simulated that the group that we have right now, or even the group from last year, has already done. And it changes from year to year. So even if you ask the current state officers, they can tell you what they did last year, but I change it up. So it's not the same. But it'll be assigned March 17th, due March 26th. And then the virtual interviews, again, you have between the 17th and the 29th to schedule it. Your advisor has between the 17th and the 29th to schedule theirs. And then this one is one that I feel is really important because this is the one that will help prepare you for the test. So reviewing the officer handbook, reviewing the Colorado FBLA website, reviewing the national FBLA website will help kind of prepare you for the state officer knowledge test. And so that test will take place at state. But it's just a 50-question test. Again, I kind of changed that one up year to year, but those are where I get all the information for the tests. Okay. And then there's some networking opportunities. Obviously, we've had some hangouts after the last two monthly membership meetings where the state officers can have answered some questions that you guys have had. But the March one specifically, if you want to come to the March one, and check or meet some of the other candidates, we'll do kind of like a meet and greet with anybody who's still there. After the monthly membership meeting, because a lot of times you want to meet the people that you might possibly be working with for the next year. So those are all happening before state. Questions with any of those? All right. So timeline at state looks a little different than it has in the past. The first day, Thursday, April 2nd, you will either have interviews with the selection committee, or your interviews might be on Friday. So it just depends on scheduling, which day your interviews are. But then there is a candidate and state officer networking time that we do right before production rehearsal observation. So those are the things that happen on Thursday. And again, you'll get the exact schedule when it gets a little closer, because I'm working around like your events and everybody else's events and all the other activities going on. And so it's kind of a fun little intricate like schedule that we have to put together. So if you don't interview on Thursday, you will interview on Friday. And then you will also have a time scheduled to take the state officer knowledge test. You do have to bring a computer, just so you know, because it is online. So I want to make sure that you have that ready. And if you are running for president or national office, you will also have an interview with Miss Davis and I. Saturday is the awards day, so you'll get to come a little earlier than everybody else and practice with the production company for the installation, and then installation happens at opening. Questions about state and the timeline that goes along with that? All right. So now let's look at the selection committee process. Okay. So how do the officers get chosen? And so it's not just like a vote. It is a bunch of different things that get put together because we want to see how well-rounded our candidates are and our officers are, to choose the absolute best people for the specific positions. And so there are a lot of things that are reviewed by the selection committee. Obviously, the application, so the resume, the article, the video, and different things like that. And then they also review the pre-conference simulated tasks and then the candidate interviews at state. And that's the signed April 2nd. That's a wrong date. Sorry about that. That's the March 17th date. Didn't get that changed. And so they review those things as well. They're quite busy people, actually. And so they get to see a well-rounded version of you. And then reviewed by the Colorado FBLA staff, obviously, the advisor interviews, the feedback forms, the knowledge tests, and social media check. Those are things that we review. And so then up in the corner, you can kind of see how it's broken down, because when I say reviewed by, there's actually rubrics that they're filling out when they look at all of these items. And so it's based on a point system. And so your application materials are 25% of your final grade or point. Your pre-conference items are 25% of your final score. The interviews at state are 40% of your final score. And then the state officer test is 10% of your final score. And so we add all of those points together, we get your final score. And then the offices or the positions are kind of based on a waterfall system. So whoever has our highest score, it should be like the president, but we always kind of go by choices as well. So if they want to be like a national officer candidate, and that's their first choice, then the person with the highest score gets to be the national officer candidate. And then it waterfalls from there in the different positions as well. So obviously it goes president first, and then all the VPs, and then the state officers for the districts. And so it's kind of a cool little process. It works out really well with the scoring and pretty easily once all of that scoring is in. But yeah, then we also look at specific things. So like Vice President of Progress is in charge of a lot of our social media. So how did they score on social media items? So we look at little things like that too when it's for specific offices. Questions with anything from the selection committee process? Cool. Local advisor. Okay. So, local advisors obviously have a hand in this as well. And so they are agreeing to do some things with their state officers. The first one is to attend all the state officer meetings. So just again, making sure that all of those dates get in their calendar as well. And like I said, it's the May, September, and December ones. The March one, they don't have to attend. I think another huge part of local advisors is to help organize transportation for the state officers to their events. So if it's the training in the summer, helping them organize, how are they going to get there if like their parents aren't taking them or if they're not okay to drive themselves or, just helping them find a ride or possibly even driving them. Uh, Meeting periodically to provide advice, guidance on their roles and responsibilities, or just check in with the progress of their tasks. It doesn't have to be a long check-in. I can tell you that the state officers that we've had from Platte Valley, we just do a weekly check-in and just say, okay, what have you been working on? How are things going? What do you need help with? And sometimes in some areas of their term, it might be a little more intense. So for instance, if you have a state officer for the district and they're helping to run district leadership conference, that one you might be a little more busy and you might be checking in daily. Whereas, in the summer, maybe you don't check in weekly, you check in once a month. So that just kind of depends. And then just review their state officer materials for feedback. It's always helpful to have a second set of eyes on things, whether they're creating social media posts or they're creating, a flyer or something, to have a second set of eyes just on how it looks visually, how the grammar and punctuation and all that stuff is, I think is super helpful. Advisors will have a section of the monthly officer report to fill out. So just kind of reflecting on that. And then assisting with some state events. We get you working on different things as well. But like I said, your time commitment kind of depends on the position of your state officer as well. Do I have questions on any of the advisor expectations? All right. So that's a lot. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of stuff. But it's a great deal of hard work that goes throughout the year, but I think it's very rewarding. The opportunities for learning, the opportunities for growth, the individual and the leader that you become throughout the year, I think is huge. Day one, we don't expect you to be, this, polished, perfect person who's stepping on a stage. That happens at the state leadership conference at the end of your term. And so being able to kind of take these steps throughout your term to grow and to make yourself a better leader and a better speaker and a better presenter is just a huge opportunity for you. As well as being able to network with others across the state, across the nation. I think it's just a great opportunity to learn about different people and to see different people, even from different CTSOs when we do our CTSO training. A lot of my past state officers, find a lot of, their friends through either FBLA or working with others in the different CTSOs and things like that. And so the rewards, I think, outweigh the costs. Can it be stressful at times? Absolutely, because you're again leading a state organization, with a ton of members, and so that you've got to stay on point. But there's a lot of support, whether it's from the state office with Miss Davis and myself, or it's at the local office, or even your district offices. You have a lot of support to help get you there. So it's nothing that you have to take on by yourself, but you do have to make sure that you prioritize over any other thing. I do have some frequently asked questions that I've often have had throughout the years, and so I already put some there in case you were thinking of them. Hopefully, I answer them. One is, what do you cover in the 2-minute video? And that's whatever you're passionate about with FBLA. So it can be your personal story, it can be promoting national activities or events, it can be where you would like to see Colorado FBLA in the future. It can be, the impact that FBLA has had on you. It's your choice. I can't really answer what the selection committee is going to want to hear, or what's best, because there are 12 members of the selection committee from all across Colorado FBLA. And over the years, when I've noticed them scoring the different videos, some score one thing really high and then they score something else really low that the other district representative scores backwards. And so with that, you've got to understand that, again, you're leading an organization that has so many different types of people. And so how can we reach all of them, at an equal level? I don't know. I can't answer that. But that's kind of what you've got to put in your brain when you're thinking about what are you putting into that video. I can tell you, though, that you need to have a lot of speaking in that video, because they do rate like your speaking presence. So if you're thinking of a video and you're like, oh, I'm just going to flash a bunch of pictures and a bunch of video clips and then I'll talk in the background, we don't want to see just that. We want to see your presence. So make sure you have that as well. You can put some fun graphics and things in there. Like, you don't get bonus points for the video editing side of it. It's cool. But like, people aren't going to get knocked down if they don't have that, if that makes sense. The second question, any tips for applying? I think my main tip that I give everybody, whether you're just applying as a candidate or, whether you get the position as an officer, is to work on your organization and work on your time management. When we are a state officer team, again, from many different places, we all have other activities that we're involved in, whether it's sports or other co-curricular or extracurricular activities. We're very busy people, and especially you high schoolers are very busy people because you like to do all the things. And that's totally okay to do all the things, but you've really got to work on that time management piece. And it will help you in the selection process because, as you've seen, there are some pre-conference items that you have to prioritize over some other things. There's some interviews that you have to take, and do those types of things. But that happens throughout the year too. You've got to work on those types of things and still be a student and still be, someone who's applying for college or applying for scholarships or working a job or playing softball or whatever the things that are in your other side of your life. But being able to organize them is great, because we've had officers in the past that have been, and we still have officers that are very busy people, but they're able to manage and balance it all because they've really worked on the organization side of things and time management side of things. They still procrastinate every once in a while, but they've become really good at making sure things are done when they are due. Besides DLC, so besides the district leadership conference, what do the state officers for the districts do? And that's a great question. Obviously, district leadership conference is your kind of number one priority. And so with your local advisor and your board member, you host a conference for your district, and that's a big part of it. So being able to work with those two adults and get that conference and create a district officer team that helps with that conference, I think, is a huge part of it. But in addition to doing that, you also are able to take part in the program of work that the VPs are leading. And then any other conferences that are run by the state, any workshops that we're putting together, articles for the newsletters, helping all sorts of different things. And so being more of a support system for some of those things and not necessarily leading them, but working with the execs to make sure all of those things get accomplished as well. What interview questions will be asked? Again, I think there's a list in the handbook that we use some of those. Sometimes the selection committee chooses some of their own, and so it's just kind of a wide variety. And so I just think be resilient and prepare for anything that you can possibly think of. We're going to want to know about your FBLA knowledge. They're going to want to know about your leadership. They're going to want to know about what you've done in FBLA. So just kind of be ready for a little bit of everything. And then kind of candidates still compete in the competition that they qualified for at districts, and that is absolutely. One of the things that we really want our officers to be is great role models. And so competing at state in some of these events, I think is huge because you are showing that you are also a member. So not only a leader, but a member. I think the big thing is make sure that you list your event in the application so that we can schedule around it. And I would also ask that if you are doing a chapter event or if you are helping with a workshop or any other of those kind of main activities that you are planning to do at state, to also put those in there because when I put the schedule together for all the interviews and all the people taking tests and the different things, I work it around all of the candidates. And so once that is put into place, it's kind of hard to flip and change. And so if all of a sudden I get an email from somebody that's like, oh, I was planning to do this workshop with so and so, or with the president's council or whatever, then like I said, it's hard to move things around. So if you know if you're on president's council and you're doing a workshop, make sure you put that in there. Or if you're doing school-based enterprise working it or whatever, put those things in there so that I know not to schedule you at specific times. And then once I get it finalized, I don't have to move as many things. But any other questions you guys might have for me tonight?
Yeah. Is the 2 minute video the same thing for the article? Guess best way I could explain it is like you said in the 2 minute video, they had the experiences with FBLA.
Mhm.
Could it be the same thing as the article?
It can, I think it can be, but I would remember that the selection committee is also, I mean, they're grading and rating both of those things. And so if they're like, oh, I've already seen this and now I've already heard it, that can be a bit redundant. But making it a little different, I think, is important. Obviously, I think they're both good skills to see how you can write an article and to see how you can present things. And so if you're really passionate about something and you want them both to be on the same topic, I think that's okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions? All right, well, that is pretty much all I have for you for tonight. Obviously, if there are other questions, all of our email addresses are on the FBLA, the Colorado FBLA website. And so you can get a hold of Miss Davis or myself, Miss Davies. I have the E in my name. Both of our emails are on the website. Every single state officer's email is on the website as well. But if you'd like to personally chat with any of those state officers, they did give me their snap codes, so you can take a picture of that or you can get their snaps and maybe ask them some specific questions about their office or insight from them. They are more than willing to kind of work with you and help you out on those as well. But that is all I have. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I'm going to see you later.
Bye.
Bye.